Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Mailbox for the 15th of September 2011. My name is TotalBiscuit, bringing you your daily dose of community interaction, gaming discussion, and all that good stuff. You can email in mailbox at cynicalbrit.com, that is mailbox at cynicalbrit.com, with topics for future shows. The game in the background is a little bit of Trackmania 2 Canyon. This is old footage from yesterday when I was doing a WTF Is and the whole thing screwed up on the audio side of things, so I'm just making use of that footage because, well, I'm going to Valencia tomorrow, and I really don't have the time to screw around recording new footage. Okay, first email comes in from Coogan Fox that says, it's become quite apparent that console gaming is moving further away from PC gaming as a whole. Just looking at the Wii, Kinect, and so on, companies are trying for more and more innovative methods for their consoles, while PC gaming remains largely the same over the last 20 years. With that I mean that it's still mostly keyboard and mouse, even though we can use controllers of consoles now. 10 years ago, nobody would have thought a console like the Wii would be one of the most successful consoles in sales worldwide. Of course, technology advances and people steadily lust after new ways to entertain them, but where is this going to lead? What are your thoughts on this? Well, it's funny that you should say that PC gaming has remained largely the same, because actually, old-school PC gaming was more peripheral-based than it is now. You had a lot of PC games that really did not run properly without a joystick. Like, for instance, X-Wing vs. TIE Fighter, you could not play that without a joystick. It would not even run without a joystick. You couldn't do it. It had no mouse support. There were plenty of other games like that. There were some racing games like that that said you have to have a wheel for this, or this game really should be using a flight yoke. And how many of those do we see now? Actually, way, way less. So PC gaming has, in that respect, peripheral-wise, kind of stagnated, which is weird. What's ended up happening is that these methods of control, which used to be very much PC-based, have headed in the direction of the consoles. That said, consoles also have had innovative control methods for a while. One of the things that never really made it to the PC, for instance, was the light gun. The light gun was a big deal back in the day, and it's had a resurgence somewhat with the Wii and the PlayStation Move, to a very, very small extent also the Kinect, but nowhere near as much for obvious reasons, because you just simply can't do it that way. But, yeah, it's weird to see that happening, and I think it's really because they're attempting to reach out to a wider audience. The Wii was so successful that it caused the other two big brands to say, we need to do something which makes us kind of like the Wii. Let's be completely frank about this. This is why the Move and the Kinect exist. They exist because the Wii was so successful. The funny thing about the Wii is that the Wii actually kind of died out after a couple of years. I mean, it was a must-have console for ages, heavily advertised, and now where is it? It's not really anywhere. I mean, the Wii sales are not very high anymore. Wii games are not really selling a huge amount. You've got the first-party titles, the big releases. Yeah, they're selling, and occasionally there'll be something that gets hyped on a daytime TV show or something like that, and then all these stay-at-home wives and OAPs go and buy it. Yeah, I can just imagine the stampede. It has happened before, actually. There's a few of those fitness games that have ended up that way. Wii Fit, in particular, sold a huge amount. But now you're in this awkward spot whereby everyone got on the Wii Gold Rush and then suddenly realized, well, actually, people don't want this as much as we thought that they did. It's cool because it's bred some innovation. I mean, the PlayStation Move is the best thing to happen to console FPS since Halo. It's as simple as that. It is a really nice piece of kit that makes playing FPS a pleasure for a PC gamer on a console. And there are some games that I want to play like that. Killzone 3, Resistance 3 being prime examples of games that I would like to play on PC, but they're not available on PC because, of course, they are Sony exclusives, so I will play them on my PS3 and I will be happy with it because I have a PlayStation Move. The Kinect doesn't really seem to have added anything in that regard, and there's not a single game for the Kinect except for Gunstringer that I care about, really. It is surprising to see that there are less PC games now that really are big on the peripherals. I mean, your big racing games can be played with the keyboard. Trackmania 2's just come out, which is, of course, keyboard-based. And really, the most you can expect out of a lot of PC gamers is just to buy a 360 pad, because that is better for certain games. Racing games, in my opinion, being a good example, with the exception of Trackmania. But aside from that, yeah, there are no joystick-based games anymore. You actually get very few flight combat games anymore, which is really unfortunate. I mean, I'd love to see Ace Combat on the PC, for instance. There was a time when those kind of games would only really come out on the PC, and that shifted. And it is a bit weird, isn't it? And now we cling to our mice and keyboards and believe that peripherals are for consoles, when in reality, it was quite difficult to survive and be a hardcore gamer back in the day if you didn't have a joystick, because there's a lot of games that you should have been playing that you kind of couldn't. So there you go. Well, where's it going to lead? Honestly, I have a feeling that it's just going to come back around. I have a feeling that these motion control things are something of a passing phase. I think the Kinect in particular is. I think people are going to realize that this is actually an awkward way of playing games, and really, you want to play a game on the couch, the Kinect really doesn't allow for that too much. Yeah, there are some games, like I say, Gunstringer, which looks to be probably one of the best Kinect games to come out, that can be played on the couch and things like that, and that actually has a reasonable control method. But then you look at it and like, well, why is this game on a Kinect? Does it benefit me from it being on a Kinect and the kind of weird hand motions you have to do? Why aren't you holding a controller? That's the stupid thing about it, all in all, that it's like the Kinect doesn't need to be there. And if the Kinect has to be there for the game, then more often than not, the game isn't the kind of game that your average gamer wants to play anyway, because it's too simplified. I think the Kinect is going the way of the Dodo, honestly. It's a nice piece of kit, and it's good for crazy experiments and things like that, but for gaming, it's just not helpful. And the Move will stick around for a while. As whether or not that'll go any further, I think they'll just iterate on the same technology, honestly. Make it an option. Don't make it the only way of playing. I mean, we saw how well the DualShock did in terms of its 6-axis control, i.e. not at all. People don't use that technology most of the time unless they're forced to. So, all in all, I have a feeling that it's just going to come back down to good, solid tech, as opposed to wacky and weird ways of controlling a game. This one comes in from Ziggy that says, "Hello, I was wondering what your thoughts are with regards to the recent issues with Dead Island, specifically the incorrect version going live over Steam in the US, and a day one patch release for the PC version. How does that even happen? Whose responsibility is it, do you think, to ensure the quality of a title being released? The publisher, the digital distribution service, etc.? Is this a sign that developers are not paying enough attention to their PC versions?" It absolutely is. Now, I've got to say that Steam is not responsible for the quality of a game. It's not the same as, say, Xbox Live Arcade, where Microsoft has to okay every release. Steam's got a lot of releases on it, so decides like Gamersgate, Direct to Drive, Impulse. They can't, it's not their job to QA the game any more than it is a GameStop to do that. They are just retailers. It's not their responsibility. So, no, I don't think it's their responsibility, certainly, but publishers and developers, well, it really comes down to QA, doesn't it? Has there been enough QA on this title? Often what happens is the publishers will push a release date and they'll say, well, you can't deviate from this, and then the developers realize they can't meet it. So they're pretty much forced to release the game in an incomplete state and whack a patch on it at launch. This is becoming increasingly common, and I don't like it at all. The whole thing with Dead Island was a massive botch. I don't even know how that happened. How do you upload the developer-only version? I think that was just a mistake on one guy's end. It was a pretty colossal mistake, but it was just a mistake on their end. So whoever was responsible for uploading the version to Steam, well, they screwed up and they put the wrong file in. That's all I can think of there. But yeah, you're right. There's a lot of issues with Dead Island. I've barely played it because I've had audio issues and all sorts of problems with it. There's a helper tool that supposedly makes the experience more pleasurable. Why is it that games like this always come out in this state? Anything that's sort of like an FPS RPG hybrid has problems. Every single one of them. With even Deus Ex Human Revolution had some major problems on launch. You had Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines, that was a complete mess. You had Borderlands, the PC version of that was a complete mess. Then, of course, you got Dead Island. What the hell is it with these type of games that always causes this to happen? Is there some degree of complexity that is causing massive bug problems, or do they just all ship unfinished? I don't even know. It is horrible, though. There's no real doubt about that. And did it happen back in the day? Certainly not as much. Certainly not as much. There were some games, without a doubt, but there are more and more games coming for PC at the moment which release with crippling problems that are then supposedly fixed in the day one patch. But of course, that never really fixes it. It fixes it for some people and not others, and maybe the patch causes additional problems, and then you get this nasty patching cycle that takes several months to get the game into the state you want, by which point you do not care because something else has come out in the meantime. Therein lies the problem. Stop releasing your games too early, and then you might not have as many issues. People wonder why their games don't sell on PC, because we can't trust you anymore. Oh, it's like, your game looks so great, and I know for a fact that it's going to be horribly broken, because there have been so many other games like this that have also been horribly broken for PC. This is probably hurting their sales figures pretty badly, and increasing piracy, because nobody can trust the devs anymore. Nobody can trust the publishers anymore to put things out at the appropriate time, as opposed to force it to be released unfinished. The industry hurts itself most of the time when it comes to PC, and that is quite upsetting. This one comes in from Seb that says, throughout your mailboxes, you're constantly referencing the fact that indie developers have more freedom to do interesting things within games, as opposed to the large companies who are forced to stick to tried and tested formulas. I would say this is the fundamental reason why I prefer indie games over large budget blockbusters. I'd also take a confident punt in saying that most other gamers share this opinion. I don't know about that. Sales figures seem to indicate otherwise, but hey, let's continue. My question is this: how feasible would it be for a large company to divide up its workers into small teams of around, say, 8, who then work as a small team to make indie-style games? The company would be able to offer top-quality entertainment, the groups could work together, say, for example, 2 teams team up to make a larger game, and they may hire in the help of a graphics designer from another group to give the aesthetics an extra push. Could this work as a business strategy? It's funny that you should mention this, because I could think of one company that did exactly this, and they go by the name of Double Fine. Yes, they are responsible for Psychonauts, Brutal Legend, and a few other things. Now, if I recall correctly, I'm trying to think of what it was exactly, because I heard all about this on the Giant Bombcast, and they were talking about how Double Fine had this weird period where everyone got together and they were told, you are just jacking in Brutal Legend for a couple of weeks, you're going to split into these teams, and you're going to come up with a game concept. And then we're going to just put those game concepts away. So they went and did that for a while, they came up with the game concepts, and then, after Brutal Legend was finished, they turned around and said, okay, we're making these games now. And that actually caused Stacking and Trenched, if you recall correctly. Trenched is really good, and my god, I wish that was on PC. I don't know why it is. I suppose that Double Fine are avoiding PC at the moment again. Sadface.jpg. But the idea of Trenched is awesome. It's this ridiculous combination of sort of a third-person mech shooter and tower defense, and it's all set in World War I, except the technology is sort of old history. It's really cool, and Stacking is nice as well, if you've never played that one. And those are the results of exactly that. Only in that case, what they did was they split up the teams. They came up with the ideas, and then they put the resources of the company towards each title over and over after that. And they were able to do them in a fairly short development cycle as a direct result of that. I don't know how easy it is to really just split up a development house like that. I don't think you can just say, all right, we'll take one artist from here, one programmer from here. Could you do it? Maybe. Would it be the most efficient way of doing things? Probably not. And I also don't know if big development houses and publishers are really willing to go down that route. You either do that, or you put all of your money towards this big blockbuster, and I have a feeling that publishers prefer that because it's just easier to market. If they've got this big title coming up, they can hype this for over a year, and they can ensure massive sales simply due to marketing. And then they release this big stonking AAA game, it wins a bunch of awards and things like that, as opposed to splitting things up and then having, of course, to split up your marketing resources. And I don't think that big publishers really like to rely on word of mouth too much. They don't seem to find much value in it when they can bombard you with ads on every gaming website, on every YouTube video, hell, even on television. That, they believe, is more effective. I would like to see it, though. I really, really would. I think that it's definitely a possibility. I think that if there was a publisher that had a development house that wasn't really doing anything, and they said, right, we're going to make 4 indie-style games, and I could see one of EA's in-house guys doing that. I don't see why they couldn't do it. I mean, EA has actually shown some support for indies before. They've got this indie partnership program going on. I mean, Shank was an example of that, if I recall correctly. Wasn't Death Spank as well? I think it might have been. I can't really remember, but I know Shank was part of the EA Indie Partners program. I would love to see it. I really would, because it worked with Double Fine. Would it work with any other development house? I don't know, but it would be cool. There's no doubt about that. And I have a feeling that it will happen more and more, because Xbox Live Arcade, PSN, and Steam are all these really, really good marketplaces to sell this stuff. Around the $10 to $15 price range. There's a lot more games coming out of that price range now. Good example, for instance. After making a massive blockbuster hit, we're talking about Avalanche here with Just Cause 2. Big, well-marketed, extremely high-fidelity blockbuster hit. Really successful game. What do they make then? A $10 shooter that is basically a top-down dual-stick driving game called Renegade Ops. And you know what? It's freaking brilliant. I actually got hold of Renegade Ops yesterday on the PS3. It is so good. So, yeah, there'll be a WTF once it comes out on the PC, but it's really weird that a big studio like that would suddenly turn around and make an Xbox Live Arcade game. But you know what? They're able to do it in a relatively short development cycle. It looks gorgeous. I have to assume it uses the same engine as Just Cause 2. It's really fun. Loads of destruction there. 4-player co-op. Great campy sort of cartoonish G.I. Joe style stuff. It's brilliant. It really, really is. There's not a shred of originality in it, but it is awesome fun. Really, really, really awesome. So I would like to see development houses sort of turn their attention to that kind of thing. I would love to see that happen. So here's hoping it does. Okay, folks, that is actually me done for the week for Mailbox, because I am traveling from 6 o'clock in the morning tomorrow. No, I'm not looking forward to it, but I am looking forward to DreamHack Valencia, which will be at the weekend. Please, please do tune into that. It is going to be amazing. A fantastic 8-man StarCraft 2 tournament in Valencia, Spain, with the best the world has to offer. So please do tune into that. Details in the description below this video. I will see you next time.